Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Congratulations. On behalf of the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, and the Schmoes Know, you are now a member of the Jedi Alliance. May the Force be with you, always.
And welcome, fine Popcorn Talk listeners and viewers, to Jedi Alliance, the show that is a celebration of the greatest saga ever told, Star Wars. Somewhere out there in space, this is happening now. And here we are for a fun-filled edition titled Mr. and Mrs. Han Solo. We're going to have a lot of fun diving into the new Marvel canon today and a very deep, very important duel of the fates that is quite literally life-changing for a certain life, from a certain point of view. I'm Ken Napzok, joined by returning guests today. Everyone on my panel has been on the show before, so we don't need to do the 5 most important questions. Not that that's a bad thing. Joining me first here, bringing some legitimate Star Wars Kenner toys from the 70s, or actually that's probably about 81, is Michael Beatrice back in the fold. Welcome back, man.
Happy to be here. It's I think at first the first playset's released by Kenner. This is part of the Death Star Station playset.
Let me see that. This is from 70s.
And as the wall collapses, the
3PO!
Oh.
3PO!
And then I think there's something alive in there. This guy comes out.
Shut down all the compactors on the detention level! And that way, I have never seen...
That's the guy.
I've never seen that's the full...
All you see is his eyeball in the movie.
Look at that. And it's got a mouth right there.
What?
Yeah. That's where the mouth is.
That's where the mouth is.
I don't know if that toy is canon.
Good question. I don't...
Are you sure that's the mouth?
I better not touch that.
When I do come here, I like to bring something out of the Mike Beatrice archive of nonsense.
This is great. I've never seen this. Can we stop the show? I'm just going to play with this for the rest of the time.
Have a play date.
Thanks for bringing that, Mike. More on that later, I'm sure. And then also joining me, returning to the show, is our very own Jennifer, Landa.
Yes, hello.
You're back.
I'm back.
With a Boba Fett necklace.
That's right. It's a locket.
It's a little locket there?
Yeah,
What's in the locket?
A little Sarlacc pit.
It's got a Sarlacc pit in there?
Yeah, see a little...
You guys bring the coolest toys.
Micro Machine.
Oh, you love those micro machines.
I do.
And I do too.
They're fun.
That's great. Wow. Joseph, can you beat that? Joseph Alvarez returning to the show.
Yes. Oh, you check out the shirt?
Soy tu padre, mijo.
Oh, that's good.
It's great.
I like that.
Awesome. So, we have a fun-filled show, like I said, today. I got the Marvel comics in front, and whether or not you've read the Marvel comics or not, that's not necessary for today. We're going to talk about some things. And yeah, you know what? If you haven't read them and you don't want to be spoiled, you know what? This might not be the episode for you. I hate to lose viewers, but sometimes we need to discuss something that's big in the Star Wars universe. And this week, that was definitely the thing that dominated, is a big reveal for Han Solo. And there's a lot of other things that Marvel has done with the canon. So we're going to dive into that. Before that, though, I want to talk to you about the Podcast One survey. This show is on iTunes, and the Popcorn Talk Network and AfterBuzz TV and all those people do a lot of great work with the fine folks at Podcast One, and we love hearing from you. I got the chat room up, we got Twitter up, so keep sending your tweets and comments and send them to Podcast One. We read all of them, but don't miss the chance to take this very important listener survey at podcast1.com. Your responses will help make us this show the very best it can be. It will only take about 3 minutes of your time. That's like less than it takes to read one of these Marvel comics, and you'll get the instant gratification of knowing that you've helped us out. All right, you can tell us how you really feel about the show, even the people that hate me and my hairline. Help us get to know you better. Do it now. Take the survey at podcast1.com. That's podcast1.com. And please keep those tweets and comments coming on the show today. We have, I'm sure, a lot of comments going to be coming in. But first, we're going to take a look at news around the Star Wars universe. This is what we do. It's called From the HoloNet. We take a look around at some of the news that we want to talk about that may have sprung up in the last week. And the first is the new Star Wars game that's coming out, I believe, for smartphones and your handheld devices and all that kind of fun stuff. It is called Star Wars Uprising. Have any of you had a chance to check out the trailer for Star Wars Uprising?
I did.
Jennifer, you're first. Dive in with that reaction.
You know, it looks really cool, but it's going to be for your mobile device.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that?
It's a big scope to the game.
Right.
Joseph, have you had a chance to dive into that?
No.
Okay. Mike?
No.
You old guys. Here's what we got.
right.
It is what it is. It is a post Return of the Jedi. The Emperor and Vader may have been dead. There's rumors. Don't believe the rumors. And it is about the Empire holding on to what they have and trying to keep the people in control. And so it is about the continued uprising now of maybe the entire galaxy. So the trailer itself has some guys showing some little hologram news footage of the Death Star blowing up. There's a hut, clearly not Jabba. There's other people. There's people grabbing arms. They're gonna, and then you go to a new character. Possibly. It's not Grand Admiral Thrawn. It is someone in the Imperial Army that is now kind of acting as though he's in control. So it is also canon.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got something big coming.
Yeah.
This is the game. This is like the game.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game.
That's where you lose me when you tell me it's canon.
Yeah.
Now, understand that I checked out on video games a while back.
Right.
I think the last Star Wars game I played was Shadows of the Empire,
Ooh, that
which
was
is a
such
solid
good
game.
one.
Right.
Love that game.
But you know, we'll get into this later, I guess, when we talk about canon. But it gets a little far away from a lot of your audiences when you're starting to stick storylines into video games that not everybody plays or has access to.
Yeah, and that's one of my things is I don't know if I'll have time to play it.
Right.
So I wish maybe there's a summary I can read and just like and you got the novelization coming out, Star Wars Aftermath. That's already where I was going to be going to. Yeah. So would either of you just play the game because you feel you have to learn it?
I mean, if you have to like get your updates as far as what the storylines are going on, it almost feels like rebooting.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And the new canon essentially is, though, the expanded universe never really officially, so to say, at the end of the day, it is a reboot. That's what it is. You, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. The characters I thought looked really cool.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. There was this character. She kind of reminded me of like a Night Sister wearing like the hood, and I don't know. I thought she looked really cool, but I don't know if I have the time. I'm sorry. I'm getting pulled in so many directions.
Well,
comics, novels.
Yeah, and some bigger life responsibilities ahead of you too, where you might not have the time to sit down and play this game.
Right.
Look, I play still Star Wars Commander, which is a simple tap and real-time battle kind of thing, and even that's got some characters that popped up that are now listed on some official Star Wars canon type things. It's not giant like it's important to the story, but even some of that stuff for this freemium game that I play, quite frankly, most of the time in the bathroom. That's where the Star Wars canon is expanding.
To the bathroom.
Yeah, to the bathroom.
That's the universe right there.
To me, it's a touch of a bit too much.
Right.
Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Am I being a grumpy old man, Joseph?
Yes.
No, you're not. You're not.
But the trailer does look cool. If this was a little bit of a movie or part of Rebels or something, I'd be like really excited. Right now, I'm excited to learn who this character is. It's very Thrawn-like, but it doesn't seem to be Thrawn, unless it's a new redesigned Thrawn. Who knows? But I'm a little trepidatious that this is all coming out in my iPhone.
But that's where the world is going to. I mean, you can walk outside and you see people crossing the street. What are they looking at? They're not looking at where they're going. They're like this.
Right.
So, hey, that's an audience we need to reach.
Yeah.
So let's put some
makes
content
sense.
there.
And again, when we talk later about canon, games are a good place to use all these expanded universe storylines because you don't want to jam everything into the movies. You want to keep it simple.
Right.
I hope they keep it simple. So you can jam all this stuff into the novels and the games, as long as it doesn't have like as long as it's not required gaming and reading to go see the movie.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But I've seen, I've seen some trailers for games with the Batman Arkham. I was like, that looks more interesting than the movie. So in fact, these trailers for the games for Star Wars, it's like, well, maybe if they garner enough fans, that character may actually make the transition to
Good point.
to the movies.
Good point. Now, what a Battlefront, when it comes out in November for more what we now view as traditional gaming locations, are you guys going to dive into Battlefront?
Man, if it looks good, looks good, I will. Because they have so many, say, more innovations in these gaming effects that, you know what, it's things that they can get away with as far as on games than on the big screen.
Yeah.
So I love to see that. Because like I remember one thing when I saw the and help me out, Ken. I saw the trailer for where there was a Death Star. Not the Death Star, but the Imperial cruiser. Actually crashed. What was that game?
That I believe you're talking about Battlefront. They're gonna explain the Battle of Jakku, which is going to factor into the Force Awakens. If you buy your game
Force
early,
Awakens. Exactly.
Right.
If you buy your game early and you reserve it now, you get a free Jakku Battle of Jakku battle pack, and that
trailer was awesome.
Force Awakens.
And it's like you can't imagine that happening in movies, but man, it may. So it piques your curiosity and you want to see it,
right?
And then play it. And again, you reach this audience,
right? And like I said, there's an entire we are, jokes aside, we are a bit of older, so we're waiting for a movie.
Right.
I'm into the comics, but I know other people in my age bracket. There's new Star Wars comics.
It's a new medium that has to be addressed. So
you have to.
You got it.
It's a smart plan, but it also it gets a bit overwhelming.
But it's a smart plan for your smartphone.
They need to appease the fan base,
right? Yeah.
And again, you can do that on all the mediums, but the movies will live or die with the mainstream audience, so it has to stand alone and not have too many outside references.
Right.
Now, do the outside references have any influence on what's in the mainstream?
Well, that's the question I have.
Exactly.
You know, does something that happens in Star Wars Uprising, is that gonna change what I learn about The Force Awakens? I don't know. And if that does happen, you know, then between 7 and 8, you're gonna have to play every game, read every book, and that.
Right, I don't want to miss out. That's the thing. It's like I hate that. I mean, I just want the movies to be kind of standalone. I don't mind if they introduce a couple characters, maybe minor characters, but I don't want to feel like I have to go and buy this game and play this RPG on my phone in order to catch up and know what's going to happen in The Force Awakens.
And one of the things when I was at the Star Wars Celebration at the Canon panel, which had Leland Shee and Pablo Hidalgo on there, they said, yeah, absolutely, a lot of stuff that's in all the comics and the games and the books and everything, and even the sticker book I always joke about, there are clues to The Force Awakens if you know to look or want to look, but they didn't make them to where you had to look.
I like that.
So I think maybe they're addressing our fears a little bit. Look, they're smart. They know what they're doing. This is a billion-dollar industry here that they got, this empire, no pun intended, of Star Wars. So they've got a plan. It's sometimes an overwhelming plan for old folks like us, right?
Sometimes it does tie in. I remember one tie-in that I did notice was say episode 1. Right after episode 1, they came up with a cartoon on Cartoon Network with the Clone Wars, and it was some things that were revealed. General Grievous.
Yeah, you're talking about the Samurai Jack versions of the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the Samurai Jack. Yeah, right. So in the movies, we saw that he had a cough.
Yeah.
And it was never explained, but it's explained in the cartoons why he had a cough. He had a run-in with Mace Windu.
Yeah. And they touched up on that in I think it was Labyrinth of Evil, which is the novelization that came out right before Revenge of the Sith. And if you didn't read it,
you know what?
And you're like, why is this?
Right. It's those little details, nuances, but it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not huge.
It's cool to know, but they are there.
It's a whole nod. Because the coughing thing, I didn't know anything about that backstory, but it was a neat little character trait. You know, he was a little faulty, a little, infirmed. And that made for a neat character.
Yeah.
Right? But it was due, in part, a run-in with the Jedi.
And if you know,
but you wouldn't know that if you didn't see the cartoon.
Yeah.
So it stood on its own, but it was good to know if you wanted to delve into it. That's
exactly.
You have to do it, and be clever and write it layered. You know.
And that's what they did. Like you said, billions of dollars. The guys were doing this writing.
Billions of dollars. So the next story up here, as we move on from Star Wars Uprising, is another Star Wars Uprising of a certain kind. This is a man arrested this past week for dressing as a stormtrooper and hanging out near a school, causing a lockdown of the school. In Lynn, you said you grew up close to Lynn, Mass?
Lynn, Massachusetts, yes. I grew up in the town right next door.
Is this par for the course?
Well, things have changed a little bit. And first of all, let me say that we grew up calling Lynn the city of sin. So it's a very working class town.
I love it already.
But the gentleman who did this was 40 years old, so he's about my age. And now comic books have come alive, and being a nerd, I guess, is somewhat cool. But
hey, you can't speak for all nerds with this one.
Yes, but when he and I were in school, oh no. Yeah. If you were a Star Wars fan or in the comic books, you got your butt beat every day in gym class. So it makes sense to me that this guy, as a 40-year-old, would be dressing up in stormtrooper
The man
gear.
identified by police as George Cross, 40 of Lynn, was dressed in a white plastic Star Wars stormtrooper costume, and the gun was not real. I've seen some people going like, come on, why would you do that? But seriously, if a 40-year-old is hanging out next to an elementary school dressed as a stormtrooper for no reason, that might raise some eyebrows. Am I wrong, Jennifer?
That's odd. It's odd, I mean, here's the thing. He shouldn't have been arrested. That was a bit excessive.
Okay.
But why didn't anybody from the school be like, what is this guy doing? Let's go talk to him. It's not like he was in some crazy machete gear. He's a stormtrooper.
The principal called 911 to report a man with a gun walking around outside the school. So, hey, you know what? Go point blank, man. You put on a funny costume, you could be robbing a bank. Who knows what this guy's doing? Joseph, what would you have done in this situation?
Oh, for the record, I would have been shot. I said it with a straight face, man. It was like, oh God, stormtrooper. Hey, it was a weapon. Nah, guys, fanboys, nerds over it. Do not. What was it? Elementary school?
This was an elementary school.
Oh,
Brickett Elementary School. God. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Can you spin it for him? Was he going to a quinceañera or something? What?
Was he going to some con that was, I don't know.
Party?
No, it just looks like he was hanging out.
With a
showing
smoke?
off his costume.
Yeah.
That's
With
what
a
he
smoke?
said.
Yeah. I don't know.
Parading around the neighborhood.
Making a
don't
big
know.
deal about nothing. So he was carrying a gun. Even if it was real, the stormtroopers never hit anything anyway. The kids were fine. They were safe.
So the question I have for all of you here on the panel is, what costume would you wear to hang around in elementary school?
Yoda.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Jennifer's going, I don't think you'd be arrested for Yoda.
Right? No. The kids would love it.
Mike?
That's a good one. I think the Emperor. Run around and offer kids, would you like some candy? Would you like to join the dark side?
I need tissue.
Yeah.
I need tissue.
Yeah. Joseph, which one are you diving in?
I would be arrested.
You just would have been arrested.
Even with okay.
There's no way this ends without you getting arrested.
Exactly. I have to play it safe with Mace Windu.
You would just gone to his face.
I can pull that one off, right? I can pull that one
Absolutely.
off. Just and keep my hands right here.
Keep them right there.
Well, you can see them.
Keep your
right
lightsaber nice and safe. Anyways, interesting story. Yeah. Some people in the chat room reminded there was a guy who robbed a bank wearing a Vader mask recently. So yeah, again,
I mean,
you
this
never
has to
know.
stop. We can't do this, man.
Yeah, you never know. Star Wars fans, dress up, go to conventions, don't hang around elementary schools. Alexis in the engineer booth, go ahead and just say that on air. Alexis,
I would do Jar Jar.
You would dress up as Jar Jar Binks.
I would totally do it.
I would champion your arrest in a heartbeat.
That would be.
I think
would
it'll be
just be so funny.
it'll be citizens arrest.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Citizens arrest going on.
We're getting some great people in the chat room, some great answers. Everett H. Top, he would go with Lando. John Stabe would go with Max Rebo. Star Vader would go with Admiral Akbar.
Good one.
Ed Vasquez is Jar Jar as well. Mike Hogan would go with our favorite Prune Face.
Nice.
I Am Ninja Panda would go with Greedo. Kyle Harlow would just sell death sticks to kids and be the Sleaze Bago character. Star Vader would also go as Cad Bane. Great answers. Kyle Harlow wants to also go with Yak Face. I think these are good. All right. When we hear in the news tomorrow that Yak Face was arrested by a school, we know it was Kyle Harlow. All right. So that is that. And the final quick little story for a Lego fan like me. This is exciting. It is a bit of a episode 7 leak, but it doesn't give anything away plot-wise. But the Force Awakens Lego sets have kind of leaked out due to some European toy websites, I believe. We've got, if you don't want to hear, I understand, but it's Rey's Speeder, the First Order Snow Speeder, First Order Special Force TIE Fighter, Poe Dameron's X-Wing, the First Order Transporter, that's exciting, and Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle, and the Millennium Falcon, which means we're getting a second Millennium Falcon set.
Hey, Ken, which one you don't see over there, man?
Which one I don't see over there? Then
you know our favorite one.
Yeah, no, I think once again there's some Y-wing discrimination.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Joseph Alvarez and I are very proudly on Team Y-wing.
Team Y-wing.
That also means there's probably no Y-wings that we know of in Force Awakens. That's a little disappointing to me. All right, so of those ones there, you guys excited for these Lego sets and kind of what we got coming out?
I think so.
Yeah? You gonna buy
Legos
some?
were neat. No. They're expensive. Legos are expensive now. It's crazy. But Legos are neat to have, and they look cool, and you have them on your desk or wherever. But as a kid, I found them hard to play with. Because if you play with them the way that I played with the Kenner toys, the Legos will break and come apart, and you'll lose pieces.
Right.
Whereas you could just beat the Kenner toys, and pound on them, and they started to look weathered and beaten up like the actual ships.
Yeah. Joseph?
I have a stupid question.
Yeah, there's no stupid questions here.
Do they come already assembled, or do you have to assemble it yourself?
You have to assemble them, Joseph.
I'm like, well, then there's no way. I'll just have like landing gear. That's it. So
There's a lot of pieces.
Jennifer, I know you've got in the coming years, you're going to have a great excuse to buy a lot of Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have your own little Padawan learner running around.
Absolutely.
But
Thank you.
yeah, by the way, this is probably the final Jedi Alliance you'll be on without your own little bundle of joy.
Right.
So I hope eventually we'll bring you back and you can introduce the new Jedi to the world. Right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
The Padawan learner, as it is. So you got all these Star Wars toys coming out, these Lego sets. Are you just going to buy them for yourself or wait till you have an excuse?
Well, now, yeah, at least I have a real excuse. It's always embarrassing when I'm at Toys R Us and like trying to elbow the kid out of the way. Excuse me, I'm going to grab this.
It is.
You know?
I've done that myself. I've been at work on my lunch break going to Target to buy something, and I've actually bought my Imperial Walker set on the job. I was like, I got to have that now. Break out the credit card for it.
And so you get first dibs.
Yeah.
Look at you.
That's right. That's right. And Alexis, can you bring that picture up again, though? This is my one problem, of course. Look at those prices.
Right. Why are they so expensive?
And it's not assembled?
I love that Joseph just now learning that Legos.
I'm talking about, man, for $150, yo, this has to be already put together.
By the way, I looked at Ray's speeder.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's 193 pieces in it.
No, I think Ray's speeder, you could just tip over a popsicle and it just...
What?
You know? It just looks like... Her speeder looks like just a little pudding pop on the side, right?
Oh.
Yes.
Am I wrong here?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. I like, though, the First Order, the reveals of some of the locations. We know there's going to be a lot of snow in this one, and I like that we got a new snow speeder, because I'm a big fan of the snow speeder from Empire Strikes Back. So for me, I like that. I like this list. I like it's a good, fair, and balanced list, except for the First Order transport. That's always a boring thing when you get that as a kid.
Right.
Like maybe the Imperial transport figure thing. Like, they put it in Rebels, which is one of the best things about the Rebels cartoon. But yeah, for me, that's a good list. I'm looking at where my allowance is going to go on that list. All right, so that is from the HoloNet. That's our look at news of Star Wars news across the galaxy over the last week since we've been out. So now let's go to our main conversation, which is a discussion on the new Marvel Canon. First things first, I will say overall, I have been very, very happy to go to my comic book shop, which for me is Earth 2 in Northridge, each week and each month. That's your spot too.
Shout out.
That's right. They're great over there. And I love that I have new Star Wars. The Dark Horse stuff towards the end was great. Brian Wood's series was great. We talked about that before in the show. It's no longer canon. Marvel takes over. They get the license back. And I had the chance of meeting Jordan D. White, the editor, overseeing all of the Marvel Star Wars comics. I met him at Star Wars Celebration. And he and Heather Antos do a great job with this stuff. Overall, I love going to my shop and having new Star Wars stuff every week. But they are doing a lot of interesting things and controversial things, and hey, that makes this. Exactly. That makes the money.
It drives sales.
So we're going to just dive on into the comic. First things first, who here has read everything and is up to date?
No, not
No?
up to date. And I have one question.
Yeah.
When you made that introduction as far as Dark Horse and then Marvel, do you feel like they've gone out of their way to say it's official?
Well, Marvel's is. No, it's 100%. It's all tied in. Yeah.
And they let you know.
Yeah, it's all tied in. It was all part. It was like, here's what's coming.
Exactly.
And this is that. The Dark Horse stuff, they lost the license. That was never. It was Legends. It was expanded universe.
Fables, right.
What was interesting is the Dark Horse series was the same time frame as the Marvel Star Wars. It was right after New Hope. It was like, here's what happened between then and Empire, and they had some interesting stuff going on in there that unfortunately is now.
And they're telling you
lost.
like, hey, forget about it. It was all a dream.
It was all a dream. It was all a dream. You haven't had a chance to read as much these as well?
No, I don't. I don't read comic books.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to them, but I don't get into them. But I'm up to. I looked into what the developments were, and you hear them as the movie's getting ready to come out.
Right. And you?
I am.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I am, and I'm quite impressed with how they're weaving the prequels and the original trilogy all together, and still making new, interesting canon elements.
Yeah. So we'll dive on into the thing that, and I actually like that there's some have read, not read, because it is the perspectives that are different on this issue, because the only scary thing, and we Star Wars fans love to be scared and debate and get...
Oh yeah, we love to debate.
We love to throw off the real problems in the world and dive on into the Star Wars universe, and that's part of the fun, and that's what we're doing here now.
Yes.
Doing here now, but man, it was, the Star Wars fandom was rattled this week when the first thing up
Shaken to
top
the core.
was revealed that Mr. Han Solo, who we know and can assume was not a virgin when he met Princess Leia in A New Hope, has, well, let's just say this. A woman showed up claiming to be Santa Solo, Han Solo's wife. Shockwaves like the Death Star exploding across the Star Wars universe.
Dropped the mug.
Yeah, seriously.
So, I ask, where were you when you first heard this news, Joseph?
Oh, man. I was at work.
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Well, it was actually last Wednesday.
Yeah.
But my favorite reaction is Han Solo. The panel with Han Solo's reaction is like,
oh no,
It's a good one.
it's like, Lucy, you'll have some explaining to do, and everybody's really anticipating this explanation right now.
Yeah. It's causing, I mean, I'm seeing in the chat rooms a lot of people still, upset with it, and I have a take on it as well that we're going to hear. But Mike, when you hear about this, what's your first reaction?
Oh, when I first heard about it, I was on the phone with you because you told me.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's right.
Again, if it's a story that it's canon. But if it's not really canon and doesn't make it into the movies, it's no harm, no foul. If they wrap up the whole thing in the comic books and it doesn't bleed into the movies, because I think it ruins his character. He's a scoundrel
I don't
and
think
not
it's
a
gonna
cheater.
bleed. I don't think it's going to bleed.
Good, but there's speculation. Does he have children? Does it get in the way? Is it mentioned his backstory in the movies? I just, I think it ruins his bromance with Chewie. I think it's
Good point.
Princess Leia was the only one that could get him to settle down.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also had an idea, and I ran this by Ken on the phone.
This is why I brought you on. I like this idea. Let's see what it does to you guys.
If it has to be canon, and if it has to go into the movies, I thought maybe part of the backstory would be that she was actually, Lando's significant other, married girlfriend, and if Han was in fact a scoundrel and wooed her away from Lando, maybe that could be their age-old rift that they never resolved.
Ooh.
And why there's so much tension. So if it's going to happen, that occurred to me as a way it could work.
Well, I want to give a shout out to JT, a friend of ours. He had something similar. It was like it was a night in a casino planet.
A night in Vegas.
A night in Vegas is a night in a casino planet. So and then he has a wife. He wakes up with a wife, but there was a lot of gambling in both Lando and Han's past. So hey, could have been one night in a casino.
Could have been one night. And again, she's claiming that they're married. No license has been shown. Jennifer, your reaction?
But he does facepalm. You're right.
Yeah. There's recognition there. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I was mad.
You were mad.
I was
Love
like,
it.
what on earth?
Let this passion flow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, you know, he's a scoundrel, but he's not a jerk.
Right.
You know, and to me, it just really, I felt like they're just trying to get our money.
And they did.
And yes, they did. And the thing that also, it's like at this point, they have to handle this well.
Right.
The resolution better be good,
Yeah.
because if it's not, it's going to come across really
Because
gimmicky.
you're playing with a woman's emotions right here.
Yeah, but I will say, when I actually saw who she was, I was very happy that they're adding more diversity to the Star Wars universe.
You know, and it would make sense for Han Solo that he's like, I go all around the universe.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to all kinds of girls. Here's the thing for me is you've all kind of echoed some of my thoughts, is if this holds up. Look, we don't know. This was just one panel. She's claiming something. Han's like, oh no, it could be an obsessed ex-girlfriend. Who knows? It could be Laura Flynn Boyle from Wayne's World, you know, like following him around the galaxy. But if it holds up, and it is, and because this is after New Hope, that means the entire time during New Hope, he wasn't just a scoundrel. He was a dude cheating on his wife with a 19-year-old girl he met at work. Like, then it becomes something a little different.
He was a player. He was a player. And Ken, help me out. Who's the writer?
Well, I believe Jason Aaron does this series. There's so many different. Jason Aaron.
So he's
who
given
knows
us,
his stuff.
he's given us a lot. So let's break it down. So you see when she's looking for him, she has the same techniques as shoot first, ask questions later under the table.
Absolutely.
As Han.
Right.
Yeah.
And he just did that. If you follow the movies, he shot first. Ladies and gentlemen,
absolutely.
Han shot first. And so there's a scenario where she does the same thing.
Right.
I mean, same style, the hands right here. And
she's got a Carillion cruiser type of Millennium Falcon ship.
Same model
Yes.
ship.
Yeah.
So they have some similarities there. So either she learned the technique from him, or he learned from her. But they have the same techniques, and probably the same cadence. If we was to hear it, if it was live action, probably the same mannerisms of speak.
Yeah,
So.
and the word wife is probably what's causing the biggest issue.
Yes.
Because if it was, again, girlfriend, Lando's sister. I saw someone in the chat room. I don't know. I forget the name to give you credit, but someone just said maybe it's Lando's sister. It's all that kind of thing. It would have been easier, but the big and it's a big controversy creates cash moment.
Right.
Wife.
And they know what they're doing, because right after
Absolutely.
that reveal with that page, the next page is what?
The next page. Well, it goes into the Fett Vader section.
No. The next page is the advertisement for.
I mean, look. Good point.
You knew him in Cloud City. You knew him there.
Oh yeah, actually, absolutely right. It's previewing the Lando comic that's coming out soon here. Man, good placement.
Interesting.
Joseph, you know, you're a smart cookie there, Joseph.
You know, it's all about marketing.
Yeah.
And it's all about piquing curiosity. So we want to find out. We want to see if they handle this canon with delicate hands, because, hey, we're talking about a woman's emotions. Because look at Han. We're all talking about this and this. Who's in the worst situation? We have Han. He has one woman right here to his left. He has another, and they're both armed.
Yeah.
Dangerous situation.
It's a dangerous situation for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, the thing that I had that initial reaction of Han Solo wasn't married. And then you kind of think, all right, well, if we're going to go with this, let's see where they play it out. But what maybe got me a little more, not worried, because I really love what Marvel's doing and expanding the universe here, but it's like, if they're playing with that canon, what else are they going to play with? And what things do I know that, or I've come to believe, are now changed? And the next big one, where we can talk a little bit more about Sana Solo, because Alexis, you want to cosplay as her, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, this is the first time where I've seen, well, not, specifically, but I got excited because I was like, ooh, we got a sister in Star Wars. Sure. So this is the first time where I'm actually really excited, even though I don't know how I feel about her just yet. Sure. That I would love to cosplay her for a con.
Well, there you go.
Let's talk about that. Like, say, beautiful Alexis, who's I call her like our Matrix operator.
Thank you.
And I have to give props to Ken for inviting me. It's like, hey, let's talk about it, and we're talking about it, and so, like Jennifer mentioned, the diversity and all. So we're introducing a beautifully drawn woman of color, and hey, we're And we're not forcing it because I'm sure they have something in the line as far as cleaning it up, because it does take place after New Hope.
Yeah.
And we all know that he ultimately ends up with Leia.
With Leia, yeah.
So, but the fact is, there's room in this universe for everyone.
Yes.
For everyone. So we're going to transcend that from the Star Wars universe to the real world, where we have beautiful young ladies of color like Alexis who can actually cosplay a character.
Yep.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those instances of just like when you're a kid, you know, people, I've always liked to look at someone on the screen that looks like me, you know, like as princesses, whatever. So the fact that I see her, even though again we don't really know her story besides the fact of what she's saying, it's just another opportunity for that to come up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's a fierce looking character too. It's a great design, great ship, and she shows up with that mask first. She's got like a
hey guys, I was thinking of Michonne.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Walking Dead.
Michonne.
When I saw her, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
in space.
In space.
Right. We need those characters.
Yeah. You absolutely do. And the next thing, like I was saying, that what can they do with canon? One of the big other things, and they did a great job. Star Wars 6 and Darth Vader 6 combined, and they had the same scenes. And in it is a reveal, the end of a story. If you don't want to hear it, mute me now. But it's the end of this kind of not the end. It's the next chapter in this big story. Vader's on this hunt for the guy who took down the Death Star. He hires Boba Fett. Boba Fett and Luke get into a fight. And then in the reveal, he learns his name. He's learned it from the people of Tatooine, and he tells Vader. And Vader realizes
his name is
Skywalker. So Vader learns it and has this moment, and it's an awesome moment. And then 2 issues, and then he has a flashback that actually, for me, works.
Yes.
It goes back to Revenge of the Sith, some Padme stuff, kind of connective thread, but it absolutely changes one of these scenes from Empire Strikes Back.
Let's review, so everyone can put 2 and 2 together. You're referring to when everyone thought when he first learned.
Right.
So that changes the dynamic and everything, because now he's actually playing possum to his master.
Right. And it's not a bad thing, but what we know in Empire Strikes Back is in the re-releases, the redone versions, they took out Clive Revel and McDormand comes back in. And I actually thought it was a great addition. He says, hey, it's the son of Skywalker, and Vader kind of gives him a, what? Now it's a playing possum or everything. But I guess my argument is, back when they did that, I don't think they were thinking, well, in 2015 we're going to have the comic. So now the comics are kind of rewriting, filling in blanks.
And I can see what the writers are doing, because remember when Vader confronted Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he did say, we can take over.
Yeah.
Right.
We can take over. We can take out the Emperor.
Yeah.
So maybe he already had plans. We don't know.
And the Vader comic's been doing a really good job of that plan. It just, again, for me, and I actually like the moment, how it plays out, but it changes. And for you, someone, Mike, who hasn't read it, and does that, now knowing, does it change? Does it affect you at all when you go back and watch Empire?
Yes, and it's a multi-layered answer, because there's 2 versions of Empire to watch.
Right.
So that gets confusing as well. But what I don't want them to do with canon, for me, because I understand that there's a whole new young audience out there, and this new Star Wars is going to be their Star Wars. I'm very protective of my Star Wars, and that doesn't mean I'm going to win.
Right.
So, but for me, what I know is at the end of Star Wars, Darth Vader did not know. The Force is strong with this one, but doesn't know. By the time, my understanding, if I recall, when I've watched the original undoctored Empire, is that he seems to know.
Seems to know, and I know some of your chat room are pointing out, he says it in on Hoth, the name pops up. It wasn't like, but that scene is definitely, that scene with the Emperor is played as if Vader's learning for the first time.
So it's like Lucas's own canon in redoing the movie already messed with the canon that I know and that I appreciate.
True. Absolutely.
But like I said, maybe they're just lending it to, because remember right when he cut his hand, he says he's plotting, we can take over, you and I, like father and son.
Right.
So maybe he's already had this already planned in the back of his head.
Yeah. And it's like, I like it. It is a great, well-drawn scene. There's some beautiful artwork going on in these comics right now. And that...
Yeah, the window cracking was cool.
The window cracking, Vader getting angry, and it was an actually, dare I say, touching moment for Darth Vader when he, especially in the version when he flashes back and he's flashing back to Padme, and it even goes back to the famous no. So there's a little flashback to that, it worked for me.
It gives you more empathy for the character.
Yeah,
and it's like, so his love for Padme is like there's still a piece of her out there in the galaxy.
So it
was hidden from me.
It adds to those movies, but some of the stuff. There's minor little things, and this is being nitpicky, and this is going back to the issue I always bring up of having the problem with when new things kind of don't go against your expectations. Jennifer, what do you think about this idea that now in these comics, we've seen Luke face off with Vader earlier than Empire, and we've seen Boba Fett and Luke tangle up way before Empire. You have any reaction to that, positive or negative?
I liked it. I really did. I thought that the battle between them in Obi-Wan's house was cool.
It was beautifully drawn.
Yeah.
There's some great artwork in these comics.
There really is. Yeah. And it was nice to see Boba as, the badass that he is.
As we all know that he is.
Right, exactly. So that was thrilling and kind of a fresh take on things. The only thing is how the battle ended, I thought was a little weak. Yeah, but
Luke blind, learning some force powers.
But it's like what it makes us debate on. If you catch Luke in different phases of his tutelage of being a Jedi, if you want to catch Luke, if you want to have a battle with Luke, you better catch him in the beginning, and that's where it was.
Right. That's
so
true.
like if Boba Fett was to deal with him later on in his life, I don't think he would fare that.
Well, and in Jedi he tangles with him, and though he does wrap Luke up, he doesn't quite get the advantage that he did here. So I can see where you're coming from. Is Luke still learning to be a Jedi? But for me, again, I actually liked the scene, but I have this. There's a part of me, and this is what you talk so well about, Mike, is it's our Star Wars, and they're changing our Star Wars. Get off my lawn!
Exactly.
It was like, no, I love that moment when Fett is kind of shooting at Luke, and you kind of read into this Fett going like, who is this guy? Maybe that wasn't true, but again, that's what I interpreted it as.
I have two problems with it, and again, it's fine. It's all fine.
There's real world problems.
Luke and Boba Fett do have that brief entanglement in Return of the Jedi, but really, all three movies, it's always Luke and Vader. And you drop down to the, not second-tier character, but like the wingman, the co-hero. You have Han Solo, and it just felt like his nemesis was Boba Fett. That's the guy that's running and gunning for Han Solo. He has to outsmart him and beat him. So to have Luke and Boba Fett is kind of crossing the streams. And it's fine. It's stuff I would do with action figures out in the yard. Yeah. But, you want character A going with villain A, character B, villain B. And having Luke and Vader tangle before Empire, is that what happened?
It's a brief moment, but they square up.
I don't know, because...
No, he's talking about Boba.
No, Luke and Vader. In I think issue 2 of the Star Wars, the Star Wars run here. Just a brief... They didn't have a full-on fight, but it was a moment. And now I'll say this. It factors into... Vader in this one kind of piecing it all together because he flashes back to that moment, but
based on the movies, which is all I have really.
You're including episode 1, 2, and 3 as well.
No, not for the purposes of this, but in Empire Strikes Back, when he's on Dagobah and trying to catch up and train quickly to be a Jedi, he goes into the cave, and Darth Vader is there, and it suggests that's his first one-on-one with Darth Vader, and he fails. He's terrified, and he fails.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's not. And then later in that movie, when they actually have the battle, he has learned just barely enough to get out of there almost intact.
Like I was saying, you catch him in different phases of his training.
And he's still short a little training, but he's a more complete Jedi when they have their battle in Return of the Jedi, and why it's so satisfying. Right. So if they had a little skirmish beforehand, that's probably not a big deal. But don't take away from that cave and the duel in Empire Strikes Back.
Right. And
so Mike is just dealing with the 3 episodes from back in the day.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I had. That's all I had.
4, 5, and 6.
And quite frankly, that's the perspective of most of the fans. I mean, most of the Star Wars isn't this worldwide phenomenon for no reason, and I bet most people aren't reading these comics. A lot of people are. These are selling very well, but they're still going into episode 7. A lot of this stuff isn't going to be known, and I know Marvel, Disney, Lucasfilm knows that. They're not. I don't think anything's going to be. You have to have read it, seen it, watched it, played it on your phone. But it definitely, what Marvel's done, they're taking some risks. I like some of the stories, but it definitely, I have those little feelings of, but that but that meant something else. Now it doesn't mean that as much. And
well, Marvel has experience, of course, with Marvel. They have the same debates and the same issues that they have as far as the source material with their regular comics and how it makes the transition to films. So sometimes they just encompasses like 60. Well, we're going on 40 years, almost 40 years of canon, and just putting it all together in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you got to fill in the blanks, little subplots, everything. So
one of the other things, and I know Jennifer, you had a pretty strong opinion about this, like I did, is in the Vader comic, is this character of Silo has been introduced, and he's a cyborg type of character. And hey, guess what? The Emperor's been training, or having him train, a secret little army of cyborg Jedi-like characters with lightsabers and modified body parts, and maybe training them to kill or test or strengthen Vader. And that's revealed, and your reaction was similar to mine.
It's just kind of ridiculous, Although I will say, I loved that Commander Carbon, the Mon Calamari head with the General Grievous body.
Yeah, and it was, and Silo goes, I was always a fan of the late General Grievous, so I modeled him after him.
Jumping the shark a bit, I think.
It is. Look, you got this one kind of telepath and all this stuff, and it took me out of Star Wars a little bit. You got a Bosk like, what is those, Kardashians?
Yes.
It made me feel like I was reading an X-Men comic, which isn't a bad thing, not to slide on X-Men.
It is Marvel.
It is Marvel, but to be in Star Wars, and look, come on, not that there's weird, I mean, we got this creature in Star Wars, you tell me there can't be a cyborg, but it was a moment where I was just like, you and I sitting with the same reaction, what am I reading?
Right, but see, here's the thing. Would you rather have something like that totally is kind of takes you out of it, or something where the storyline where they're going to redefine a character?
Well, that's a deep question. I think I'd rather...
That's what I thought. I thought it doesn't make much sense to me, and Star Wars was never about cyborgs.
Right.
Right.
Except for that one dude in Cloud City.
Lobot.
But it does no harm.
Exactly.
It doesn't retcon anything. It's harmless.
Right. So that's why I kind of, as ridiculous as it was, I kind of chuckled about it,
Yeah.
It wasn't like it made me angry, like,
No, it just was
Han
like,
Solo's
but
wife.
it was, look, there's certain rules in the Star Wars universe that are established. Each fandom has their own kind of rule. I was joking yesterday on my Game of Thrones show. Someone was, talking about, how can you kill a dragon? Well, in Game of Thrones, you might not be able to kill a dragon like you can in Lord of the Rings or something else. So there's a certain, each universe has its kind of rules that cyborgs haven't factored quite greatly unless you're talking about Lobot, and that even then. So I'm like, and then is this going to mean Force Awakens, we're going to get a cyborg villain from someone who maybe have died in the past, and do I want that? And that's where it opens up some of those questions.
Stupid question.
There are
how much cybernetics does one have to be considered a cyborg?
That's a good question, because Vader's almost cybernetic himself there.
Anakin started off with the whole arm, so what constitutes, when do you become officially a cyborg?
And the Emperor kind of takes a shot at Vader in this, because Vader's like, these are abominations. He's like, excuse me, sir?
Look who's talking.
Yeah, where did I find you on Mustafar doing what?
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in Star Trek: The Next Generation episode Measure of a Man, we find out how many cybernetics you can have and still be considered human with Data. I just nerded out completely.
All right.
Yes, you did. That's good. That's good. We're all here.
Said the man who brought his Star Wars trash compactor set intact. The final thing here as we wrap up Marvel, and there's so much more we can talk about. I wish Maude was here to celebrate this one with me. That is that in the Princess Leia comic, the number 4 of the 5-part series, which has been up and down, probably the least favorite of the series for a lot of people, they introduced Neenum as a major player in the early days of the rebellion. And this is a big one for me here on Team Neenum. He was had a big part, apparently, in the early days. Yeah, get that picture back up, Alexis. You show me that Neenum.
Oh, he looks like a player.
Is excited to see Neenum. He smuggled some supplies and some people past the Imperials, and they're like, Neen, so happy to see you. For me, it was a big moment.
Look at him. That old smoothie.
There's so much more we could talk about here about Marvel Canon. It's going to go on and on and on. Overall, happy with some of the stuff, not happy with it, questioning some of it. Overall, again, I think they're doing a spectacular job. That story group over at Lucasfilm, it's a big task, and they have a lot of us angry fans who are just ready to jump on them.
And buy the next freaking issue.
Yeah, and buy the next issue. And I'm gonna. You're all gonna to figure out if Santa Solo is in fact married to Han. I think in the end you're gonna find out a little bit of wrinkle, and it isn't what it is set up to be. Go buy those comics, Mike. Start reading. Hey guys, I follow Maria Menounos on all forms of social media because I'm a fan of her work, and also she is one of the fine people behind Popcorn Talk AfterBuzz TV. It's fun to follow her, especially during the holidays when her and some of her friends, like Julianne Hough, most importantly, do the dance battles across the board on Instagram and all the social medias. There'll be one person will be at one house, one person will be at the other house, and the friends at all these Thanksgiving parties get together and they go back and forth with these dance battles. And now ABC said, yeah, it is a good idea, and they're going to bring you Dance Battle America. And a lot of people have been involved in these. The challenge took off. Kate Hudson, Amber Riley, they joined in. They had a dance battle. It's fun to watch when you're home eating turkey. Watch some Detroit Lions football and Maria Menounos and her friends dancing and challenging each other. Now the ladies are challenging everyone in America to battle it out for a chance to fly to Los Angeles, where we are here, and compete on the Dance Battle America, scheduled for this fall. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. If you want the chance to dance on network television, Joseph, go to dancebattleamericacasting.com for more information on how to submit your video. And don't forget to also post it on social media. Use the hashtag DanceBattleABC. Mike, what do you say? You and me want to dance?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to do it. And we're going to try out for Dance Battle America. Our final thing this week is Duel of the Fates. Last week, we got to go kind of quickly here. Last week, I threw out a light, fluffy Duel of the Fates. We had a deep Duel of Fates the last couple of weeks. Mark Riley and I last week. Let's have some fun. So we said, what is the Han Solo look you like best? Classic vest or Empire jacket? It turned into perhaps our most heated and closest debate on our Facebook page, Jedi Alliance. The jacket won 48-44. Joseph, quickly, what would you go? Vest or jacket?
I have to go with the jacket.
Jacket, Empire. Jennifer?
Vest.
Classic
it's iconic,
vest.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike?
Vest. Has to be the vest. See my vest.
I went, that's right, you posted that. I went jacket. Alexis, decide here.
Vest.
Yep.
Nice.
Vest.
Yes.
That was last week, so that was, and there were some great comments. You guys love participating with that. Tammy Podgorny said it best, though. It's Han Solo. Is there any wrong outfit? And Steve Eaton said, I thought you said you weren't going with a deep discussion for this week, and it turned out to be pretty darn deep. But we're going to have a pretty quick, deep one here with this week's Duel of Fates, as I mentioned, in honor of our friend here, Jennifer Landa, who in just a couple weeks will be bringing her own Padawan learner into the world. There is the most important question that you have to ask yourself, and Mike Beatrice, I know you have a young daughter coming up in the world under a year of age, and you're going to have to answer this question sooner or later. This week's Duel of the Fates. What order will you have your children watch Star Wars in? Jennifer?
Ooh, wow,
Start
Jennifer.
us out. This is a deep question.
Yes, I need to know.
It is, and I've thought about this for years. Originally, it was going to be just the original trilogy, and maybe I'd show the prequels later on. But now I'm thinking about this alternative order, which is
Machete order?
No, the Ernest Rister order.
There's so many orders now.
Which is A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Then you flash back to learn Vader's backstory with A Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. Then you flash forward to end it with Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Where does the holiday special factor into there? Okay.
No.
That's similar to the Machete order. I think
Kind of,
Machete
yeah.
order just cuts out Phantom Menace.
Right.
So that's what you're going to try that.
I might.
You're going to go out on a limb and go one of these kind of hybrid orders.
I think
That's
so.
brave.
I really want. It's so hard. I want her to have the experience that I had, which will never happen, right? But I don't want to expose her to Jar Jar. But Jar Jar is canon, you know. So.
And of course, by then you'll also have 7, 8, 9, and the anthologies to factor in this. But we're just going with the original 6 here.
Yeah.
If you want to put 1, 2, and 3 in the original 6. You're a father. You've got an answer, Joseph. What are you thinking?
You know my story with the Empire Strikes Back. This is the first movie that I ever, and this is the first and only movie that I've ever attended with my entire family.
Right.
Wow.
And so the experience, I have to go with episode New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, then 1 and 2 and 3,
5, 6,
because
1, 2, 3.
There's nothing like, and I don't think I can recreate it, but I can do my best to recreate it. The reveal of Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father, and
so you don't want
and the energy in the theaters. I thank God I experienced that. The energy, and for those who didn't have that, you just missed out, because the energy in the theater when he gave that reveal, everyone was like, no.
So you want to maintain that, and I think that's
live it all over again vicariously through the next generation would be so cool, because I wouldn't tell them anything.
Mike, this is a question you're gonna have to answer real soon.
Ken, I've already answered it. Because she's 8 months old. I'm behind schedule. What I've already done is plopped her in front of the television. I've clockwork oranged her eyes so she can just watch them and let it filter in. But the order in which I have her watch them: New Hope, of course.
Good job.
Empire Strikes Back.
Good job.
Then Return of the Jedi. Then New Hope again. And then I pop in Last Starfighter and we call it a day.
Good job. Good job.
That is the way to do it. The way my life is going, won't have to answer this question for about 20 years or so. So by then we'll have a different selection of movies to choose from. But if I had to answer now, I think I'd go 4, 5, 6, and then maybe 1, 2, and 3. But I want that moment preserved too. But I think, and a lot of these alternative hybrid orders are very interesting when you think about it. And I've had some people who didn't know. One of my friend's wives was raised in Japan. Even though Star Wars is big over there, she was not exposed to it. She saw 1 through 6 in that order, cried when Anakin became Vader, had no idea what was what, and just saw it as that played out, and saw it as Vader's story, not so much Luke and his dad. Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of ways to do it. The first thing you got to do is go make a baby. Alexis, quickly, what would you go with?
I'm going to do it as my parents introduced it to me, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and that's what I'm going to do.
There you go. That is the Duel of Fates for this week. You can join the conversation on that debate on the Facebook page. Just find Jedi Alliance on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at Jedi_Alliance. That is our show for the day. That is a great one. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you,
Joseph,
Ken.
you've got a film festival coming out soon. We're going to tell quickly in about 10 seconds where they can start submitting that stuff.
Oh, man, submit to joseph.alvarez1999@gmail.com, okay? I want to see all the fan films, so we're going to have fun and look at it on the big screen in the theaters, all right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And more of that's going to come on. Joseph, you're going to come back on here and talk more about that too. Jennifer, you've got a big project coming out soon.
I do.
But in the meantime, where they can follow you, all that fun stuff, see what's going on in your life.
On Twitter at Jennifer Landa or youtube.com/Jennifer Landa.
Michael Beatrice, one of our writers for schmoesknow.com. When you can, and a contributor to Schmoes Know, where can they follow you?
On Twitter, Michael Beatrice. And then also I have a little account, New Daddy Mike, where I make jokes about parenting.
Oh, fun.
It is my favorite sitcom about parenting right now. So that is that. Thank you so much. You can follow me at Ken Napzok. This has been the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. They got a lot of shows. Profiles, Guilty Movie Pleasures, Box Office Breakdown, Meet the Movie Press, Marvel Movie News, DC Movie News, Bollywood, Anatomy of an Action Movie. There's a lot more stuff coming out on Popcorn Talk. If you're on iTunes, rate and review Jedi Alliance. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died to bring us this information.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.